Hi, I'm Tony Colt. Today I'm doing some what I call alternative pareidolia. Uh, every time I look up pareidolia online, all I find are little stuff that's supposed to look like faces. What I see is actually whole entire scenes, and I am going to do that for you today. As you can see, I've already started a little bit. There's a man standing here. I put in his shirt, his belt buckle even, and his pants. You can see the seams of his pants in this. I'm going to try to make it a little bit more clear for you today. You could tell here that he's standing on some sort of a boardwalk by some water, and you can clearly see a tree right in through here. What I'm going to try to do, and you can even see that there's a dog right down here by his side. He's even casting a shadow. And so it's pretty clear. I'm going to try to make it a lot more clear for you. But I call this form of art, I started calling it wood grain pareidolia, but I decided it's some slightly different than normal pareidolia, so I decided to call it alternative pareidolia. And I haven't found anything else like it online ever, so hope you enjoy. What I'm doing right now is putting in the dock. You can see there's a person behind him, a woman in a black dress. Maybe it's got some designs on it. Also casting in shadows. I don't want to put a lighter shade right there, but what I do want to do is just go ahead and just start painting. I usually like to paint to music, so this is kind of making it hard for me. But I know that with YouTube, you have to own the rights, or you have to do something with the music rights or something like that. It really sucks because I love to paint the music. Now, the bottom of his feet you really can't see. It's kind of transparent. I can't see it very well. Maybe that's, but it's more perception than anything, I think. Anyway, so that's not going to be exactly perfect. But you can tell that he is standing on a dock, and I think I'm actually going to start with the outside of this. Just so we can go with pareidolia, you need to use really small brushes because there's so many finer details, and you don't want to go outside of that. But as you see here, I'm not really just simply painting this on a wall. I'm actually seeing it. I'm going by what I see that's already here. Kind of goofed up there. Hate that I did that. I might be able to fix that later because there's some waves right in through here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do those right now. Well, it's easier to try to Gonna stick with the program here. This is actually my first vlog video, so bear with me. It's not as easy as it looks when you're watching them to make them, so. Right now I'm attempting to put in this dog's shadow, and maybe this woman's too. She's casting a larger shadow than what the dog is. Still got too much light in my brush there, so that's a little messed up. Let's go ahead and try to bring out some more detail, and maybe I can swing back to this part later. Let's get that dog. Problem's a little bit of an issue. I'm not going to try to keep very much paint in my brush right now. Just enough to show you that he's there. Kind of sitting on his arms like like most animals do. I know this is not making much sense right now, but it will. I'm gonna come in here and get his face. As I was trying to work on the man's face up here, I kind of messed up because I lost some of his facial features, the way actually I saw in there. Now he's starting to pop out a little bit more. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of gray in him. And when I rub this in, this should just be an indication of a darker line of fur where the sun's not hitting him. Kind of messing it up a little bit. Let's put some more light in that face. Let's go ahead and I don't want to do too much of that dog right now because I'm afraid I'll mess him up too bad. Wood grain pareidolia, or alternative pareidolia, which is the way I prefer to call it now. It's pretty easy to make a mistake because you kind of have to follow right within the wood grain, with the image what you see, or you're going to mess it up, which is very easy to do, especially with finer details like facial features and hair patterns. But I've been needing to do this for a long time. I think I messed up on that dog too much. I could still see his eyes and nose and everything. Let me go ahead and try to fix the situation with this. I think I might have screwed it up too bad already. Now if you look, where was it? Right about here, and going on to the other side of the tree, there's slightly different colors in the wood grain, which to me appears to be oceanic. Now, as you see here, I'm only doing these darker shades right in here. Where this lighter shade is where I can tell water is hitting the shore beneath the dock here. So it's those are going to be actual waves. It's not going to be the color of the ocean or anything like that. I'm pulling it to the side because I could see that the current of the ocean. So let me go ahead and put in the ocean waves real fast. See if that makes this a little better. Hope I don't have to scrap this one. About 5 minutes into my first video. Shit. Yeah, Pareidolia Art's not easy. Take it from me. Or more specifically, alternative Pareidolia Art. Because there's not any room for error, because basically what you're doing is you are copying something that your mind already perceives to be there. You're not just painting it, you're actually copying it. As you see here, I won't have much room for error here either when I put in this tree, and you can tell that the tree is actually there. It's not just something that I'm imagining. This is quite the art form, and I've never seen anything like it on the internet either. But you could tell here that he's standing on a dock. And now that I got the ocean in there, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to follow that dock. So let me go ahead and try to put that in. I think I'm going to go ahead and change up the color of it a little bit. I'm going to darken it up some. Actually, I find it's easier to use a Q-tip. I think I messed up that dog too much. Okay, so you can tell that we've got the ocean here, there's some sky above him, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. And I'm going to put some up here in between the tree branches and on the opposite side of this tree. But with the wood grain here, I'm going to kind of follow it, and I'm going to leave it in, like I'm leaving it in here. And that way you're only seeing, well, you might not be able to see the dog, but the dock ocean, the man. But there is a woman back there, and I'm going to put her in right now. Since she's smaller, this might be a little bit more risky to do because she's further back in the picture. So basically, I just need to. But she's there though, because you could see the shadow on the dock, and that's what I'm trying hard not to undo. In fact, I'm going to try to make it a little bit more defined by putting in, and I know this is not in the wood grain pareidolia itself, the wood grain itself, but I'm going to try to make it a little bit more obvious that she's really there. Like I could tell that there are some colors on her dress. And this is basically just going to show that she's there. Because, see, her shadow there? I'm going to put in some hot pink. Some orange. Give her a pretty dress to be wearing back there. This looks like it's kind of a tropical area. At least in my vision of it is. But you can definitely see the shadow, and it's a shame I messed up that dog's face, and I'll try to fix it right now. It's another thing that's challenging about this form of pareidolia. Is the colors, because it's primarily done on wood grain, so you have to find it just the right colors exactly to try to I can see that it's got a nose. Let me put in that first. Man, I'm messing that thing up so bad. You can tell, so basically what I'm seeing with this is his shadow for one, right down along in here. His eyes, right in here, his nose. Almost his color, but that I don't like the way that looks. I think I'm going to try to not do any yellow in that. But I do want to let that lady's dress pop out a little bit more. I'm going to put some yellow in that. It's not going to... There we go. Now it looks like more of a green dress or something she's wearing. She's kind of back there in the background. She's not going to have hardly any detail to her at all. It just... because she's back there and she's further back. In fact, I can't take her out because she's already there. But I'm going to try to work on the dog's face a little bit. I'm not crazy about that yellow in him either. Well, I'll get back to him later. Let me try to go ahead and finish working on this dock so you can see it a lot better than that. Like I was saying before, with wood grain pareidolia, it's really difficult, especially with wooden things like this tree here and this dock right here, to get it just right, because you're painting on wood. This, in fact, this barn that I'm painting this on is was built in the 1870s, so it's very old wood too. But old wood is the best for alternative pareidolia, or for any pareidolia for that matter. I call it alternative because it's whole entire scenes. It's not faces. In fact, this one's, like I said, I kind of messed up his face to begin with. Might have to end up putting one in for him, giving him a face. But you can see the shadow of the dog here laying by the man's feet, and I'm going to try to get him to where he stands out a little bit more. Let's go ahead and get up here and paint in the sky. I've already got my paints mostly pre-mixed. I don't want to go too far over here because you can see that there's a little bit of a where the light is hitting that tree right there. I'm going to try to get it as close to it as I can. I'm already going over that line. Now, I can't pick up on his arms. I can do one of two things. It appears that I see a watch right here, but I've never been good at doing arms, period, in any of my paintings, which, by the way, I'm using oil paintings right now, but just basically want to show that he is actually there, so I don't want to mess him up too bad. I will, however, go around him, even though I don't see his arms. I'd assume that he has arms, but then again, this is only my perception. It's really just wood grain. Try to loosen up that paint a little bit right there and push it out some. That way, as you see, it blends in better with the wood grain itself. I did put a line in here, and I'm not going to go above that line because I'm going to put the whole image in a picture frame in a little bit when it's finished. Now see here, I need to take that out because his head was starting to really take shape here. I think that should about do it. And this darker line, I think I'm going to leave in as just the regular part of the wood grain and not part of the picture, even if it is. That way you can tell that this is not really a painting, it's just the wood grain. Or my perception of it anyway. The painting really does paint itself. I mean, you're basically, all you're doing is just copying what you already see, especially with wood grain pareidolia, which is why I'm surprised that I don't see more of it on the internet. I mean, I see it literally in almost everything that I look at. In fact, I've got about about 4 more images out here in my barn that I'm going to do. In fact, I'm going to do one each day for the rest of this weekend. until I'm ready to film an actual documentary. Should be pretty soon. I need to get some better equipment for it. Uh, Before I do that, because that one's more of a advanced piece than this. This is like my beginner's piece. This is like the easiest one. And as you see, that man there is not much bigger than my pointer finger. But that's what makes him so complicated, is because I saw facial features in it, even his hairstyle, but I attempted to put in skin where his head is, and I goofed it. This is my first try. So I don't expect to be like Picasso on the first try. But I do want to get this type of art form out into the world today. And so I hope that you see this and that you share it with all of your friends, and that they share it with all their friends. That way, Alternative Pareidolia is officially out into the world forever. Like I say, this is completely different than regular Pareidolia, because regular Pareidolia is just seeing faces, but you can already see that he's starting to take shape. Shit, I got some of it on his clothes. I'm gonna have to take that off, because you need to be able to see the sharpness of his clothes that I had already put on him. Damn it. You can tell, yeah, he's wearing a polo shirt. I just couldn't see his arms, so I just decided to leave him out. About this woman back here, I kind of goofed it. Pretty bad, actually. But oh well. At least now you're getting a better idea that this image that I'm seeing is not just... I'm not just the only one seeing it now. No, you guys are too. And that's the main thing that I want. Because I have been seeing all of these images in my barn, and I decided today's the day to do something about them. I don't want to be the only one that sees them. Darken his fur up a little bit more. I hate that I used yellow on that. Now I'm going to work on this tree right here. I'll use a smaller brush for that one. Haha. This one will do. For a lot of my wood grain Pareidolia, I use these rubber brushes, because the images are so small and so defined. So what you see, what I'm doing now, is I'm going to cut in the details of this tree right here. So it's giving an indication that it's a solid object and that light is hitting it just from one angle. And I can tell from the shadows of the dog, the woman, and the man here that the light is pretty much coming from this way behind the tree. But I know you might not be able to see the tree right now, but trust me, you will by the time I'm done with it. The tree's actually just about the most obvious one to see in here. I've had other people tell me that they can see the tree all day. Yeah, that really pops it out. Oh. Very small amounts of paint on my brush. Any more than that, it's just gonna smear it around. I know I smear it a lot with my finger, so I'm just trying to get it as perfect as I can. I think the reason why this isn't turning out very well is because this is a darker section of that tree. So let me go with darker. Especially right up in through here. I got too much paint on it right now. Now if you notice, I'm not making all the colors all that much different than what they already are. I don't want to. I want it to match in with the wood grain already. So you can see it, so that way that people, when they look at it, they could see that I didn't paint it. I just copied what I already saw on the wood grain itself. Which it's strange, I know, to look at the wood grain on your barn, 150-year-old, almost 140-year-old barn, and see a man with a dog on a dock with the ocean beside it, and a tree and a person behind him, and all the shadows and everything. But I'm telling you, I see it. That's why I had to do this, is because that perception makes it real. And then from there, the painting literally just paints itself. All I'm doing is just tracing what I already see. And so I need to use some sharper. Let me try this. You didn't let the cat out, did you? No. Okay. Is she just meowing? Wanting out. Poor cat. Our cat got out and ran away one time for about 2 or 3 days. And then somebody said, well, cats can smell their own litter or their own urine for like 5 miles. So I sat out its litter box and it came back in the next half hour. And then ever since then we've not ever let her out, but she's constantly trying to get out. And basically I'm just going to try to prove that that tree is really there. Although I kind of screwed it up already. Yeah, this type of pareidolia is really difficult because, as you see, even if I do it perfect, some people aren't even going to be able to see that they're just going to see like a couple of slabs of paint. If I don't do it well, well enough. And maybe I could bring in that ocean too. Actually, I should probably make that tree wider. I need to take that out. I started to put the. Well, actually, I could use that as another branch. Oh wow! I didn't even realize that at first. Let's see here. I think I put him right about there. A whole nother branch going off separately. To make that work, what I can do is put in that same. This, by the way, that I'm using to highlight the tree, the edge of the trees, where you can tell that the light is hitting it, is ground white. But need to put that as much as that in as possible. And you need to go back over it with that lighter sky blue. So that gives the indication that there's a separate branch coming out here. Which is difficult, especially right into here. There we go. That looks about right, actually. So, I'm going to go ahead and need to make this tree a little bit more obvious. So I need to ascertain where my edge is going to be for it. Kind of messed that up there. Once I get up here with the darker brown, I can cover that up. One of the tricks is to not get too much color in your brush, especially with these rubber ones that I'm using for the Pareidolia. It's real easy to do because it just smears it everywhere. But it's about the only way that you can positively keep it within the lines of the wood grain. The wood grain's the real star of the show here. This part's particularly difficult. There we are. That pops out a little bit better, the tree. So for right now, I think I'm going to go back to the dock. Now see how I'm only putting in light where the wood grain has the light, that way that it retains those shadows that the man and the dog and the woman are creating, but it also makes it pop out a little bit better. I'm just lightening up this tree a little bit. Put a little bit more white there where the ocean waves are at. Ain't gonna look like $1,000,000 or nothing like that, but it'll have to do. There we go. Bring it in a little more. Now, looks like I need to work more on the tree. And then maybe later I can come back and get the dog since I messed it up so bad. Put a little bit of white in the tree there. Mainly I need to make this pop out better. We can get an idea of what it's going to look like when it's finished though. Yeah, as you can see, the woman behind him needs work. The sky around him needs work, especially to tighten up that shirt on him. The tree, it's okay, but I can bring that blue down a little bit. Putting this here kind of helps me get a better picture of the way it should look. So that's going to help me out a little bit. Take a little bit of that out. There we go. It's starting to look better. Now see, if you see here, you're like, well, man, I don't see nothing. But then when I start putting it in there, that pareidolia that's already in there, that's gonna stick out a lot more. I'm gonna go ahead and put some hair on his head. Let's see here. I'm gonna probably make him kind of blonde, maybe. At least around the top. Basically what I need to do is make it a little bit more obvious that there's a man there. I think I just screwed it up more. I haven't had much luck with this one, and this is like my simplest one, but I'll figure it out. I need to work on that sky right around his shirt though. So I'm gonna break out probably this one, I think, and let's tighten up that shirt on him. See, with me putting in the sky closer to his shirt and making it more obvious, tightening it up on him, it makes it look more obvious that, you know, that somebody is there and is wearing a shirt. Okay, so dog needs some work. I think part of my problem is I used yellow, trying to make him stand out more, but I just goofed it, really. Try taking this off. Gonna get in my way. See, basically this lighter color it's showing the shadows and the lighting, kind of picking them up a little bit, which he needed. He needed it. I'm gonna put in some gray, but I'm gonna do that. A different kind of brush technique. This is actually the first animal that I've ever painted in my life. But like I say, I'm not really painting it either. I'm just going by what I see on here already. Which is to say that I'm not doing a great job at it either. Not really. I had higher hopes for that lady's dress back there. Now see, one thing that this is doing here as I'm putting in the gray is it's creating shape and shadow, so that way I can focus more on his face later. Or maybe I don't even have to have a face. Maybe I could just leave it open just enough where you can see that he's actually there. Just like same way with the leg. Even though I'm using just strictly what I perceive this to be, I'm not actually, I don't perceive any feet. I don't perceive anything. I can only perceive from here down to about the knee. And the dog, actually, might even take out one of his eyes. I don't know. Dog I'm not real pleased with. Just like me goofing up his face in an earlier attempt to do this painting. One of the trickier things about Pareidolia is putting in the finer details. Now, Let's go ahead and work on this tree a little. I don't know how that blue paint got there. One thing I hate about oil paintings is that it doesn't have portrait pink, because portrait pink is perfect for trees, and I know that it would work really well in this particular painting. I think I need to really be using burnt umber. I got some out. I think I'm gonna have to revert to using that other than what I'm using right now. As you can see here, there's still more of this tree. I was gonna just leave this be just simply wood grain, but I'm thinking, because I'm seeing more of the tree here, especially as I'm getting over there more. That's why I didn't use that. I thought it was black. Let's see here. Aha! There we go. That's much better. I'm gonna come back here and use that on that. Autumn, get her in the house. Now, like I say, as you see, I'm just going strictly by the wood grain itself. I'm not even deviating it from it that much. Must have some blue paint on my fingers. Oh well, I'm gonna put blue in there anyway. Definitely gonna come back here and put some burnt umber along that. That's gonna make that dock stand out real well. Now I'm just gonna show you this rubber brush here with the burnt umber that I put on it. It's barely even, not even as much as you would find on a pencil, or lead on a pencil. And then just very lightly spread it as far as you can spread it anyway. Because if it clumps up too much, as you see, I'm smudging a lot with my finger. Well, that's why. Because it got clumped up. And then it's easy to mess up once you do. So, see, that cuts in that dock, but I need to make the dock a little bit lighter, especially closer to him. Actually making it darker. I still had some of that burnt umber in there. I need more of that light. In there behind him. This is really crucial that at this point I don't cut into his seam. That way you can tell, because there's even the slightest differential between the seam of his pants and the dock, the shade or the light on the dock. that's going to really make his pants stick out like a sore thumb. You're really going to be able to see his shape take form. And so that's what I'm really trying to do right now. As you see here, there's some mess up here that I need to clean up. But see, this is, if I could succeed in this, he's going to stand up more. Therefore, also the dog is going to stand out more. I know I'm having trouble with it right now, but I'm kind of trying to work it out as I go. But that's going to make this particular form of pareidolia all the more valuable. And as you see, it's not, I mean, I don't even know if I can consider it pareidolia, because pareidolia that I've seen, all the pareidolia that I've seen, is just people looking at a plug-in or something and see it thinking that it looks like a face of a robot or something like that. It's not as specifically detailed as this. But as you see, I'm not just painting this. This is not even a painting, really. Technically it is, but because I'm painting, but I'm more of a copying what was already there on the wood grain. So it begs you the question: is was this actually already here? Did my mind just perceive it that way for whatever reason? But you could tell that since I've been painting this whole scene that's been in my head every time that I look at this, it's always been there. And this is 140-year-old wood. I mean, did my mind make the image appear, or was it already there? Because how can you change the wood grain of 140-year-old wood, you know? I'm actually going to get more serious about cutting in that dock, especially the line needs to get thinner as I go back. This is where it's going to get a little bit more difficult. Anytime you put in a line, especially to create distance, the line needs to be thicker in the front and thinner as you go back. Just like you would any road that you put in, or sidewalk, or whatever, or dock for that matter. And so now I'm going to try to focus on where I'm going to stop my sky at. Let me put this does help me a little, because I could get a better picture of what it's going to look like when it's finished. I like that. I could do better at this right here. Maybe tighten up his clothes a little bit by tightening up that lighter color, which I say I'm using ground white for this dock on here, or the boardwalk, whatever it is. I like the ocean sky, and I like that I'm cutting in that tree with the sky, the color of the sky. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to go ahead and bring it all the way out to about here. I don't have my pen on me, but I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and bring it all the way out. I was just going to cut it off right here so you can barely get it. But I mean, this dog is starting to almost look three-dimensional now, which I like. I'm going to look as three-dimensional, as realistic as possible. So now I think I'm going to go ahead and go back into that sky. Let me try to find just the right brush for that. I think I need a thicker one for that. Yeah, here it is. And that's the bigger one. Bear with me a few seconds here. I gotta get my colors right, or my brush right. That sky, although I did pre-mix it a little bit, I still need to make sure that I get it just right to match, you know. At least I should. It could. As a matter of fact, there's another tree taking form right here. I'll deal with that one later. Right now I'm just trying to get this in here. I think I put a little bit too much white in it this time. I had them pre-mixed, but for whatever reason I decided to put a little more white in it. I think I'm trying to brighten it up a little. Like I say, I was just like how you can play music on this video, not just for your entertainment sake, but because it does help me paint. I like especially like to paint the alternative music, which is part of the reason why I decided to call this form of art alternative pareidolia. But I do believe that this is an entirely different art form than pareidolia. And like I say, I'm not really painting. As you see here with the wood grain, I'm definitely copying the wood grain. So that, in that retrospect, it does make it pareidolia, but this is still a little bit different, I think. So I think alternative pareidolia is a perfect name for it. And as you see here, as I'm cutting it in, there is a little bit indication of light here on the side of this branch, which I like a lot. This one too, actually. And I'm going to leave just a little bit of that in. I'm going to try to keep it as tight as possible, so the tree, it puts emphasis on the tree branch as a solid object. But it's kind of hard to do when you're trying to keep that little bit of white in along the side of the branch. Now I'm kind of losing ground over here on this side of the tree, but I can fix that later. Definitely going to have to smudge there because I just mixed it again. And the color was a little bit off. Which is okay because it turned out better anyway, because it's a little lighter towards the horizon than it is. Let's see how I got it a little bit lighter at the bottom. I'm pushing that up that way. That's blending into the sky above it, so it makes it lighter down here. And I almost kind of need a ruler for this part, but I don't have one out here handy, so I'm just going to have to use a Q-tip. And I just screwed up this tree really bad. Actually, no, because it gives an indication of light, where the light is touching the side of it, which is actually pretty good. I think it actually looks really good that way. I'm going to darken that up, but not right yet. My brother always tells me water is self-leveling, so I'm trying to be extra careful with the color of the ocean. Come on out, honey.
Are you filming?
Yes, I'm filming, but the camera is only pointing like just slightly off of this direction. Do what?
Who is this talking?
Well, who cares?
It's not important.
They're not gonna hear you in your underwear. I mean, they're not gonna. They're not gonna be able. I hear her voice, and I can tell she's in her pajamas by the tone of her voice.
Even if we're talking to be distracted, it's not about.
No, sweetheart. It's completely about my art. This video is.
It got me some proofs about the cover of the book anyway. The pictures.
Huh?
It got me some copies, proofs of the cover of the book.
Oh, let's see the cover then. My wife wrote a book recently, and it's been published by Dorrance Publishing. So
it's going to be.
We're getting. She's getting ready to show me the cover of her book.
This is the front cover.
Let's see.
I don't know.
I Love You, Muffy Moo by Donica Gold. Did you like the front cover?
Do you?
I'm not crazy about the art of the dog. What do you think of it?
I mean, it still looks like her enough, I think.
Yeah, but it needs to be really, really, really cute and really good art.
And then here's the back cover.
Let's see the back cover.
Some of this from information I provided too, that what it says.
Oh, okay. This is just like a finishing note of the author or something like that.
Like, did I miss it? Did it not come up?
No photograph, no.
Wait a minute. Let me try. Sure that. Oh, there we go. Wait a minute. Okay, let me find it. No, this is the back cover. I don't know if you saw it there before. The second part.
Yeah, I saw it, honey. I just thought she was showing me a photograph or something.
Well, I mean, it kind of is. I don't know. Let me see.
Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh yeah, doing that and doing so. I'm not sure that I'm crazy about having it all the way down here though. Logically, that doesn't look very possible. So, I think I'm actually get her inside, honey. Otto. We live on a state route, and there's a lot of semis coming by our house literally all day long, and that's the reason why I don't like to have my cat outside. I'm afraid she'll get hit. Where I had our next door neighbor's cat got hit, and was pretty bad, I guess. So, and died, of course, not long after that. Less than half hour later, I think you said. But like I say, I'm not immensely crazy about that. I think I'm going to fix that actually. And I know that's going against the regular rules of Pareidolia. But you know, it's my painting. Thinking about right there is where that tree should end up. Luckily, I really didn't even have to paint this tree, at all. Other than maybe just the edges. Basically, all I was trying to do was just to prove that it was actually there. So I think I succeeded in that. That's not the right match for brown. That is. There we go. That's much better. I'm going to try to crispen that up a little. I can have it going down a little ways, but just not as far down as what it was before, because that looked like it was structurally not feasible. And as you can see here, I don't really need to do this tree beside it. I could crisp it up though by putting in a little bit of white right next to it. And when I say ground white, or white, I'm actually meaning ground white. So that gives a better indication of light hitting that tree. But see now, as you see here, I'm only seeing maybe one or two trees. Not really seeing that man pop out very well. So we're gonna go back to him. I seriously hope you're enjoying this video. I hope it's not too boring. It would probably be more interesting if I could plop in some Melancholy or some Muse, Mazzy Star, Jack Johnson. Some of my favorites. I prefer to paint that way, but I had heard about, in fact I was going to, but I had heard about copyright laws. I got kind of discouraged by that, but it's more about my art than it is music anyway. Although I will say I absolutely love painting the music. That dog is starting to come out a little bit better. I like that now, where I didn't. Before I didn't like that I put yellow in him. Now I kind of like that I did, because it gives the illusion of sun hitting the dog. I just need to make his paws a lot better. And you can tell here what I thought initially was a woman in a black dress and a shadow before her. You could tell appears as if a woman or a smaller person is in the background wearing maybe a raincoat, maybe a loose-fitting shirt, and some white or gray pants. So I'm actually going to try to emphasize on that one too. While I've got blue in my brush, I'll try to work on this guy's facial features a little bit. Tighten it up some down around in here, and maybe in here too. It kind of needs it. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is I don't know, let me look. Try to move this out of the way a little bit here. Now I can see But that man needs to stick out more, and so does the dog. There's a person, the third person, especially the dog. The shadows I'm going to leave the same, the trees, and pretty much everything else I'm going to leave the same. Except for I think I might go ahead and put in a little bit more dark blue right here in this back corner. I can see that it needs it back there. I had to go back here and look. A little bit of smudging here. There we go. I'll probably be a little bit, because it kind of tightens up that edge a little bit more. That distance. That's going to give the illusion of distance in there. And I need to put in, fix that dock a little bit up, especially in the distance. Because see, when I do that, that's going to cut it in a lot better. Especially up here by his pants. There needs to be a stronger separation between his pants and the dock. And by putting in, making the dock a lighter shade of wood, that's going to succeed in that, and you're going to be able to see his pants better. I kind of like what I started with. This is actually, right here is what I started with. I kind of had it right in the first place, and you could even see the shadow has the shape of a head here underneath whoever that person is back there. It gives more of an indication of more stuff going on. And to be honest with you, I did see a boat back in here before, but it wasn't coming in clear enough for me to actually paint it, so I kind of took it out. I should have done that with the dog, but I don't know why I didn't. I didn't think I was going to be mess it up that badly. Q-tip time. Q-tip come in pretty handy for wood grain pareidolia, especially with all the smudging you have to do, because your paint, your oil, specifically oil paint, doesn't spread very well, or even doesn't spread very evenly on old wood grain, which is definitely what I prefer to paint on. Oops. I think that pretty much does it for this particular video. And that, my friends, is what I used to call wood grain pareidolia, but now I refer to it as alternative pareidolia. Hope you like this video. I've got plenty more for you. Thank you. Bye.